So recently it's been raining a lot where I live, and that's meant staying inside and not seeing a lot of the cool and interesting local species that live around me. So during a brief break in the weather, I decided to go out and have a little bit of an adventure. Some ways away from where I live, there's this sort of artificial drainage system. It's called a creek, but it's not really a creek because it's definitely man-made. But it's sort of been allowed to develop a bit of a natural flow to it, and it's sort of become a bit of a floodplain. So I decided I wanted to go check it out, see if the floodwaters had receded, which they had, and I decided to just go exploring. Now, usually this place has a lot of dense undergrowth, which makes traversing it quite difficult, but because the floodwaters had sort of taken away everything, as well as it being winter with relatively little undergrowth in the first place, it was actually quite easy to go much further into this sort of strange, half man-made, half natural ecosystem than I usually do. So let's take a look at what I found. So walking through this area, I would stumble upon these little pools of water left behind by the receding floodwaters. Wanted to see if there were any frogs or other amphibians, or maybe even some trapped fish in them, but I didn't see anything. They're actually pretty devoid of life. There weren't even any birds coming down to enjoy the water. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's kind of nasty. Didn't even see like many insects buzzing around them. As I walked deeper into the environment, I started hearing the hooting of owls. So I decided to make it my goal to find one of these owls, and after some looking, I eventually spotted one. I hadn't really been birding for owls before, so I didn't really know what to look for. But now that I've seen one, I am able to reliably spot them. Here's a quick zoom in on one of the owls I saw, just to show you how, to spot them at a distance. You can see how small they are up in the tree. They almost look like just a tangled knot of wood, but it was definitely an owl. I also stumbled upon this beautiful, I believe, Bewick's wren. It was right next to me for a minute. I think it just didn't notice me in sort of the dark of the forest, but I only saw one of these there. Tried to get more photos of it, but as soon as it noticed me, it flew right off and wasn't interested in coming back. I also saw some woodpeckers, several species of woodpecker. There are definitely a few of the small species of woodpeckers that live in the area where I'm from, and I'm not really sure. I haven't really spent the time yet to identify this species. If you want to do that for me, be my guest. Maybe I'll do it some other time. There are definitely flickers flying overhead. I believe they're northern flickers, and they're basically everywhere in this area. There's, dozens upon dozens of them in the trees, and you can hear them calling a lot as you walk through the forest. So eventually I walked about as far up the canal, or creek if you want to call it that, as I possibly could. Eventually just got too muddy and I just really couldn't continue, despite the fact that I wanted to, so I had to turn around. There just wasn't a viable path through that didn't involve me getting, mud up to my knees. So at that point it's just not worth it to go any further, and I didn't want to lose the sunlight. And I didn't want to be out there past sunset, so that's another important thing. On the way back, I did encounter some other interesting species of birds, including a white-tailed kite, which was eating some kind of rodent. It kind of looks like a rat. It's about the size of a rat, so kind of gory, but, pretty interesting footage that I captured here. Anyways, that was a fun adventure and just a nice break from being indoors for a while, so hopefully I'm able to get back out there and find some more interesting birds and hopefully some fish soon.